Howdy, folks. This is Sean at Carrier Defender. We're at the Broker Carrier Summit. Thank you, Dan Lindsay, for hosting us. Lots of people around us doing some good networking, telling carriers how to protect their reputations online with carrier identity. Uh, Thanks for having us, Aleks, putting us on live and sponsoring us. I know you're a partner of ours. But yeah, just trying to help carriers fight for themselves and doing some good work that way. But yeah, thanks again, Aleks. All set here. Thanks for giving the shout out over here to Broker Carrier Summit.
Welcome to podcast episode 48. I'm going to be joined today with Benjamin, a lead gen master. Shout out to Sean and the Carrier Defender team, and shout out to the Broker Carrier Summit. We're hopefully going to get some more content and news kind of out from there tomorrow. Just before we hop into today's show, we got to go through the EF routing top hauls of the week. Coming in at number one for driving, going to be a Findlay, Ohio to Charlotte, North Carolina, coming in at 2.6 to 5.6 on the high end. Not sure where the swinging rates are from there. I guess going into some places with some bad weather is still affected by the weather. Coming in at number two, we got a Madison, Wisconsin to Indianapolis, coming in at 2.8 to 4.2. Again, some very high drive-in rates. Looks like catching some of that money from the weather issues. Reefer number one of the week going to be a Philly to Manchester, New Hampshire, 4.2 to 8.5 on the high end. Number two is a Philly to Boston, again, 4.4 to 8.5. So the top end numbers are just absolutely wild this week. Flatbed coming in at number one is the Demopolis over to Houston, 2.9 to 3.7 almost. And a Philly to Houston, which I think somebody made a mistake on the miles there. But 2.8 to 3 on the top end. Coming out the best loop for drive-in is going to be in Milwaukee over to Fort Worth to Durant, Oklahoma, over to Houston and finish in Milwaukee. Normal work week, $6,000 to 6.7. Pretty solid RPM for drive-ins. Coming on the best loop for reefer. Going to be a Muncie, Indiana to Allentown, PA over to Lafayette, New York, Baltimore, finishing up in Muncie. Reefer on a 4 to 5 day work week, 8.2 to almost 10 grand. So reefer is definitely pumping for some reason. And coming on flatbed, we got a Winston-Salem to Warrenton over to Lafayette, Warsaw, finishing back up in Winston-Salem. 3 to 4 days, making between 4.4 and 8.1. So I'm not sure what's going on in the market. I kind of wish I was still on the carrier side to figure it out. But maybe somebody can let me know where these rates are pumping like that. Anyways, let's hop into today's show with Benjamin. What's going on, man?
Not much, but reefer, that is like a trucking term.
Yeah, that's like a refrigerated truck.
Okay,
It's not the other thing. It's not the other thing. I
like,
see the keyboard behind you, so it looks like you might be into that sort of thing. But it's not what you think it is.
no, I actually don't smoke. I don't drink. I mean, I've definitely smoked and drank before, but I just thought it was funny. I was like, wow, legalization of marijuana has been really good for the trucking industry, huh?
No. So it's actually funny because I know a broker out in Canada and it's fully legal over there and on the entire country, and she moves like truckloads of reefer, which is pretty crazy to me. But anyways, if people couldn't tell, Benjamin is not heavily in the logistics area, but he is a master in lead gen, cold calling, cold outreach, and things like that. So we're going to be hearing about that kind of stuff and how it works in other sectors. Just to kick it off, I want to get right into it with you. How did you get into sales? What was your first kind of experience in sales?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It's always a honor and privilege to be asked to come onto anything, anywhere like this, especially something where I'm not, I'm only tangentially related to your field. But one thing real quick, I don't know if I would call myself a master of lead gen and all that. I have been in sales for a while and all that, but I don't know if
A quick disclaimer: he's never said that. I just put that out there.
Yeah.
That was me. I just slapped that label on him. He's not that pretentious.
Yeah. But what's funny about that is like I've actually been to answer your question, I've actually been in sales for a lot longer than I thought when I actually got into sales. Because maybe like 6 or 7, maybe 8 years ago now, I started a recording studio out of my house, and I worked in a recording studio as well, and I did that sort of music industry stuff, and I didn't know at the time that I was actually in sales and running a small business. Um, and if I had known that and operated from that sort of perspective, I'd probably still be doing it because it was obviously it's difficult to make money that way. And I think about it now, like I'm actually good at making money, and if only I had known then, maybe I would still.
Musician struggles to make money, like breaking news, man.
Yeah, exactly. In case anybody didn't know,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. Like those people don't know that they're in business. They're like, oh, I'm an artist, and it's like, yeah, okay, well, you need to make some money so that you can continue being an artist. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
you need some amount of money to have basic human needs to continue making your music, I guess.
yeah, dude, music equipment, dude, that stuff was expensive.
Hey, actually, it's funny because I wanted to get a better microphone for this podcast, and one of my coworkers is a musician, and I saw like a really nice microphone set up in his apartment through a picture. I was like, "Hey, how much that microphone cost?" He's like, "Yeah, like that's for music. It was like $1,000." I was like, "Ah, yeah, we're not doing that over here."
Yeah, that's kind of overkill for the Zoom calls. What's funny is this microphone that I have, Michael Jackson used this, not this particular microphone, but like this same model to record. And it's like under $500. It's overkill for a Zoom call, but like it's great for especially like podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, he had me in the 3 to 500 range. We were just discussing is a USB mic more beneficial over a sound card setup, and I kind of settled that a USB mic's probably going to be good enough.
Yeah, the sound card setup actually causes problems too. Like so, but
All right, cool. You've settled an internal debate with me and my coworkers. So, anyways, let's get back into
yeah.
sales and stay on track here.
Okay, so like I did the whole music thing, but a couple of years later, I actually started selling motorcycles. Sorry, this thing was not focusing.
You
And
started selling motorcycles after your music career.
yeah, so I have a motorcycle. I've owned a couple of
Ah,
motorcycles.
okay. You just like motorcycles. Like that makes like way more sense.
Yeah. No, the first dealership that I worked at, I actually bought a motorcycle from them a couple of years prior. And this goes to show you that like the buying experience has an impact on way more stuff than just that transaction, that time, and you closing that deal. Like I went to work for those people like 2 years later because I had
Oh,
a
it
good
was such a good
experience.
vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I did that for maybe a year, and selling, and anybody who's done any sort of like retail sales, whether it's auto or anything, and in power sports and auto, it's really retail sales because like it's just like selling jewelry at the mall. You're just selling something more expensive. And it's just like working a
I
front.
don't think I've ever heard that comparison, but I like it.
Well, it is because think about it's retail. Like it's basically like you could have a Kawasaki dealership at the mall. I mean,
Hey, actually, funny point to that. There's a really big mall where I live, and there is just car dealerships like BMW, the other like they're just full blown car dealerships in the shopping mall, which is pretty ridiculous.
dude, that'd be awesome to like drive a car out of the front door of the mall after you buy it.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Just see like M3 chilling in the mall, man, a couple motorcycles. It's surreal. It's a surreal experience how big that mall is.
Yeah, but so they don't really do that in the US. Is that like a European thing? Like, is that something common in Europe?
I'm not sure, man, but they built like one of those malls that it's just so big for no reason. Like they just did it for fun. Like it's just the biggest mall for like absolutely zero reason. So they're like, yeah, we might as well sell some cars. We have the space.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, anyway, so selling motorcycles is super fun, and like you get to ride the motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. But it's very long hours, and I'm not opposed to working long hours. Like I'm working long hours right now, but man, you're there all day. Like you're there on the weekend was the main thing, and it's like at that time I was getting married or was about to get married and stuff, and like I just didn't want to spend every weekend at the motorcycle dealership anymore. So that's when I
What
got.
kind of bikes were you selling? Like, what was the brand? Was it a multi-brand like dealership, or was it just one brand?
Yeah, so it was a multi-brand. It was Indian, Kawasaki, and I think that was the main two.
Yeah, I'm a huge lime green Ninja fan. I don't know why. That's just like my bike of
Yeah,
choice.
some people love the lime green, some people don't like it. I like the lime green, and
Oh
I
yeah.
may buy a Kawasaki here in the next year or two. If I don't, I ride Hondas, but you know, the Kawasaki's are very affordable and reliable. So
My dad rides Hondas and Kawasaki's too. He had a 1000cc Ninja when I first got here, and then he sold it, and now he's on us. I'll get back to you on that. He has some nice like new Honda. But
yeah,
okay, so the hours weren't for you, but you were progressing your sales career. What was the next step after the motorcycle gig?
yeah. So then I worked for a company called PandaDoc, which is an e-signature company, and I know people in the logistics industry use it. You know, it's so funny actually is I got a call today from somebody in logistics who got my name and phone number off of an email about their PandaDoc account, and I haven't worked there for like over a year. And I was like, "How did you get this number?" They're like, "Oh, this is on my email." I'm like, "Okay, well, I haven't worked there in like a year, man. I'm sorry, I can't help you." But it was from a
Maybe we could get rid of my name and number, please, friend of the dog.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever. I should have tried to, I don't know, sell him something else. I should have told him to tune into this podcast.
Yeah, they're just using you for clout at this point. Like, "Ah, this guy's got a big LinkedIn account. We're just gonna keep his name around in case people want to like look him up."
Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna sign off all their emails with Benjamin Holly at PandaDoc or something. Yeah, that's funny. Um, and PandaDoc was an e-signature company. Nothing really like, I don't know, noteworthy about the company. It was a venture-backed startup. It was a big company, really. When I started working there was like 800 people. I think after I left, they started doing layoffs and stuff like that. But at its peak, I think it was around 900 people, and I think it's back up to there about that now. And
So, what was your position there? Were you just doing straight cold outreach sales?
you know what's funny is that was in the beginning. It was a totally inbound SDR role. So I did do cold calling and I did do like outbound stuff, but that was like because I wanted to. And then about
Yeah, that
half.
was like for fun, like when you didn't have anything else to do, kind of thing.
Well, it's like, okay, so I would go back through like closed lost deals and dude, the CRM there was like very poorly set up. So there was be like leads that never got responded to, that I would go through and call, and I would just do cold outreach for companies that I thought would be good to reach out to. But I would definitely do more than just like rely on the inbound leads that like marketing gave us, because I think anybody who's in sales knows that that's kind of a recipe to not hit your quota or just be like average.
Uh,
That's what I want to do. And then about halfway through, they set up halfway through my tenure there. I was about there about like 14 months. They set up an outbound program that I got. Uh, I guess I elected to be on it as in a pilot. Um, which was definitely like a good decision for my career, but like at the time it was like very difficult because I mean, I don't really have any reason to, I don't know, hide any of this stuff because it doesn't matter, but like the sales director that I was reporting to had never done outbound before, and because he'd come from like some big companies and stuff, and you know, he was a nice enough guy, like I'm not like dumping on him or whatever, but like he'd just never done
yeah.
outbound before.
It's a recipe for a disaster, man. I had the same situation in one of my companies where like the guy, my manager, had never booked a load in his life, and he's like trying to like tell me about my job, and I'm trying to tell him like you don't know even what we do all day. So it's kind of a tough position to be in for
So
sure.
this was at a logistics company.
Yeah, this is all trucking.
I'll
But I
try.
mean, like the point is the same, you know. When your manager doesn't really know what you're doing, it's kind of tough for them to give you like any negative feedback about it.
Well, yeah, and that's what happens is like a manager's job is to, well, a manager's job isn't actually to nitpick you. It's actually to do the opposite of that. But when you're coming from like a middle management background at a big software company where there's established processes, you're trying to get people to adhere to a plan. But when you're trying to build the plane in the air and like work at a startup within a startup, which was the business unit that we were in, no processes, and you don't know how to build out processes, well, then like you can't critique me. And he was very much into critiquing me. Well, it's like
Mm.
you don't know what you're doing either. So like, why are you critiquing me? like,
Yeah, like we're both in the same boat trying to figure it out. Like there's no need for like your negative input. Like we're both just we have no playbook here. We're trying to build it. So maybe we work together on this.
yeah, exactly. And so anyway, I got recruited to Lightyear, which was the company I was at before the company I'm currently at. And that was like a Well, I know you asked me how I got into sales, so I'll just stop there.
Okay, yeah, okay. I think that's enough. Like
Yeah.
you've been in sales, you've been doing the sales, like you're familiar with sales at this point in your career. So what are you up to these days? Take us through your current projects, your current roles, and kind of what are you doing currently?
Yeah. So I'll just shout out my company SIF because I bet you there's a couple of people who are going to watch this podcast who support logistics companies as like IT service providers. Because I know that's a fairly big like niche in the IT service business is like supporting logistics and transportation companies, warehouses, logistics providers, that sort of thing. Because I know it's got a specialized sort of hardware and software setup. But anyway, so I got recruited to a company called Sift, and we basically help MSPs. Our tagline is "Unfuck ConnectWise." I didn't make that up; like that was made up.
Oh, okay, I thought that was completely like just you being you, and that kind of made me laugh when I read it.
Well, no, but see, that's one of the reasons I took this job was because that's their
That's
tagline.
just that's the vibe out there. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've gotten in trouble for like stuff I've posted on LinkedIn before, and um, managers and stuff like that are like, oh, you shouldn't be posting that. It's unprofessional or whatever. And these guys, they're not like going too far. They're not like unprofessional, but unfuck ConnectWise is kind of a nice tagline that I relate to, that sort of vibe. And anyway, so we help IT techs automate their PSAs by just talking to them with their voice. And anyway, I won't blabber on about stuff too long, but
I mean, can you explain that in like English? That maybe most, because I mean, bro, that was like foreign language to me. Which, I mean, is there a way? Like, what's the simple definition of that?
yeah, so think about a PSA as like
Like a public service announcement, or is that
no,
like completely? Yeah, I
no,
felt like that was too simple. That was going to be
yeah.
too easy.
That's just like how I thought that reefer was referring to marijuana.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean that's I like to bring on people that aren't in our industry because especially when it comes to sales, because logistics is so far behind in sales, and it's really cool to hear about what other industries are doing. There's a lot of parallels, right? Because I mean, business is business. The product you're selling, your service you're selling doesn't really matter when you break it down to a principal level. So.
yeah, no, sales is sales wherever you go. Like people think that like when I got into SaaS after doing power sports, people are like, oh, it's so much different. I'm like, listen, dude, I've been doing this for a while. Like it's really not any different. And when I was selling recording time, this is really all the same thing. Like, I,
Yeah.
it's just different shit. But anyway, so
So if you
PSA,
break it down, like what is that? What do you guys do exactly?
yeah. So an IT tech at an MSP is going to be fixing stuff for their clients, like if their printer doesn't work or they need to do a new desktop, and they have to enter their time and put notes into their PSA, which is like just think of it like a CRM for an IT.
Yeah, I was about to say basically a CRM.
Yeah, exactly. And the way it's done now, it's all manual. Everybody's typing, and they all do it at the end of the week. And by that time, they can't
So
remember.
they leave themselves like 8 hours of data entry to do at the end of the week. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's totally inaccurate. And so we developed a system where you can just talk to the PSA, and AI basically structures and formats your notes from unstructured like brain dump, and it gives the client ninth grade reading level stuff. Because if you've ever interacted with some IT guys, they like will type in their notes, and it's like at a master's level computer science, and you're like, what did they fix? Like, I just want to know what they fixed.
Yeah, I just want to know like the rundown and the practical solutions and the things that were solved practically. I don't need the why and the how. I just need to know like what happened.
Yeah, and so we help them deliver that information to their clients better with AI and the voice to PSA. So that's sort of the 1,000-foot view there.
Okay, so who are the main customers for this kind of stuff? Who are you selling to? Who are you targeting? What's the main demographic for you guys?
Yeah, so the main demographic is MSPs, which are managed service providers. And so think about like if you run a dentist office and you have like an IT closet, like you're a dentist, you don't know how to run an IT closet. They go in like on site or remote and run all that stuff. And they're usually pretty small businesses. Like I would say like our target is like from 1 to 50 employees. Um, and yeah, I mean that's kind of what an MSP is. I mean, there's other kinds of MSPs. There's like security MSPs, and there's bigger ones, but essentially they like fix your stuff when it breaks.
Okay, so basically, you guys are selling to the people that are running the IT for small businesses.
Yeah, for any company that doesn't have an in-house IT department, that's what MSPs do. They make sure that like your phone lines, your internet, all that stuff is up and running.
Okay, I mean, yeah, like the concept of what you guys do is quite simple. There's a problem, you're solving it. I mean, there's not much to get into in that regard. Is there any like kind of last things you want to say about your current company?
Um,
Or I mean, actually, just before we move on from that, I want to know what is the like current like what does the day to day look like for you when you like get to the office or if you work from home? Like, what does your day to day look like?
yeah, so I work from home right now. It's a seed stage company. Actually, my bosses are in Tampa right now doing some fundraising. So they're raising a seed round basically right now. It's a very small company. There's like 5 of us. Day to day for me is like totally bonkers right now because like this morning I got up and I had to do a demo and like the whole day with a software tool that I'm looking at. Um, Trying to build out our tech stack is something that's really important right now. I'm trying to do list building. So like I'm trying to find, I'm literally, dude, I'm trying to find every MSP on the planet and get them into a spreadsheet. Maybe not on the
Yeah.
planet, but in America. And so like today I've just been scraping stuff off the internet. Like I've been using Built With to find out what companies are using ConnectWise, which is the PSA system that we work best with. So we want to know who's got a ConnectWise account. Um, Dude, today I actually talked to a guy who used to run a competitor of ours, and there's not really any competitors of ours yet, but he ran one, and it
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like a pretty niche like service you guys offer. To find a competitor at this stage is kind of wild.
well, they do something similar, and we actually the reason I knew about it is because I talked to one of their former customers. I booked a meeting with one of their former customers, and they were telling me about it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, they went out of business." So, dude, this is like the first time I've ever been involved in something like this. I messaged the guy and I was like, "Dude, listen, I want to buy your Rolodex, and possibly, like my boss said, maybe we should talk about getting some of his IP and like some of his tech, if it makes sense, because that's a complicated transaction." Um,
Yeah.
so that's the kind of stuff I'm doing. And that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, I mean, if you work at a startup, you're going to be doing like multiple things. They always say they're going to wear multiple hats. I mean, clearly your day to day is not going to be the same every single day at that point.
Yeah, and I don't want it to be. I get bored easily. I don't know if I have ADD or whatever, but like I need to be doing something different every
I
day.
mean, I think if you think you have ADD or you're questioning, you might. I think that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I think to get off my, on a conspiracy theory or whatever, like I think it's probably a real illness, but I definitely think that it's overdiagnosed and big pharma just
Yeah,
wants.
I mean, people can just say like anybody with a slight amount of distraction or easily distractedness is just like diagnosed with something. When, like you said, I think it's just kind of like overdiagnosed. I think there is definitely people that have it, and there's definitely severe cases of
Yeah.
it, but I think there's definitely some generalizations going on.
But what I think of is like, okay, what if like I shouldn't be able to focus on a spreadsheet for 3 hours. Like I feel like that's not really human nature though. And they're like, oh, if you
Yeah,
focus on the spreadsheet for 3 hours, then like there's something wrong with you. I'm like, I don't know. I think there's something wrong with the people who are looking at spreadsheets for 3 hours and just getting through it. Like that's crazy to me. But I digress.
no, I agree with you on that one. I think data entry is the bane of humanity, and I have no ability to sit for 10 hours to go through any kind of data entry. I mean, I can do it for like 30 minutes at a time, an hour a day, maybe, but there's no way I could sit through data entry as like a job.
Yeah, craziness.
Okay, so what do you guys do just before we wrap it up with the company? What do you guys do? Well, I mean, I guess if you said there's not really any competition, so you can't like, I mean, what do you guys do differently than anybody else?
um, I've only been here for like 2 weeks, so I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know how to
yeah,
answer.
so we're learning together. We'll check back on that one in like 2 months.
Ask me in 2 months. Yeah, I'll have a good answer for you because I bet I'll have found
Okay.
some competitors.
All right, we'll touch base on it. So your current company is Sift AI. That's like the company.
Yep.
Okay, so shout out to Sift AI, and I guess if anybody needs help with PSAs and not public service announcements. So,
They can hit me up
all
for
right, man.
PSAs too if they really want to. I could offer some advice or something.
Yeah, I guess maybe you can help me write one tomorrow. We'll just make a PSA to the logistics community about PSAs and what they actually mean in other sectors.
Yeah, and I'll make a PSA to the non-logistics community about reefer.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Win-win situation. But I want to get into craziest sales stories with you. I'd like one, honestly, on a personal level about the motorcycle business, because I feel like it's probably like a cool story that happened there.
Okay, so you know what? This just occurred to me. I haven't even thought of this story until you just brought it up. I do have like some good stories. Like selling motorcycles is always interesting because you meet
Yeah.
interesting people, and you go out for test rides and stuff like that. And but one story that comes to mind is: are you familiar with what a Vanderhall is? It's like a three-wheel car. It's not like a slingshot.
Like, is it like a Reliant Robin? Like, is it the same situation
I
where
have
like
no idea
one
what
wheel's
that
in
is.
the front and two are in the back?
So this is actually two wheels in
Oh
the
no, it's
front.
in the front and one in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Well, anyway, so I was selling a Vanderhall to this guy, and he did buy it, but and I was doing a test ride in the passenger seat because it's like a two-seat vehicle, and you just got to go out there with him. And like a few minutes into the ride, I realized that he was like definitely had been drinking. I don't know if
Oh,
he had been drinking like right before we got in, or maybe the night before, or whatever. But
yeah, the alcohol smell was still present at some point in the.
well, it was strong too. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this guy would blow on the, DUI meter or whatever. And anyway, everything was fine, but after that, I was just like, dude, I should have like, I don't know, I should have said something, but like those Vanderhalls put a lot of money in my pocket, so I was like, I don't know, I'll risk it for the biscuit here. Like, if I die, I die. I don't know. So that's one crazy story that comes to mind.
I like how your ability to see the money you were about to make definitely was enough to just forgive the situation. You're like, I guess like if I die, I'm just gonna die. But if I
Yeah.
don't die, I'm gonna make some money, so that's cool too.
I'll have died doing what I loved, which was riding in expensive sport vehicles.
Yeah, there you go. I almost got killed by a semi truck on the highway last week, and I wasn't even mad about it because that's pretty ironic if that's what killed me.
Oh yeah, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, man.
Yeah, yeah, trucks help me, man, and if they kill me, that's just what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But any other like sales stories doesn't have to be motorcycle related. I mean, just any like funny sales stories.
Mm,
I mean, like just one more if you could think of just like one funny story that's happened in your sales career that wasn't selling a motorcycle with a drunk guy.
yeah, nothing comes close to that one that I can think of. That's really interesting.
Okay, then we'll move on from that. I want to get into tips for cold calling and cold emailing. And also, just to preface that conversation, which one do you think is more effective? And do you think either one of them is completely dead and should be left behind?
Well, hands down, I mean, cold calling is more effective. Like when you
All
think
right.
about it on a conversion ratio percentage, cold calling like all day. Um, that said, like I am doing some cold emailing for my company right now. Like I'm setting up a not like super sophisticated infrastructure, but like multi-domain setup with rotating inboxes and all this kind of stuff. And like, but the thing is that like it's very low conversion. I'm gonna have to send like 1,000 emails to get a meeting. Whereas like with cold calls, I could book one out of like, I don't know, every 20, 25 connected calls and conversations, which is closer to like 3 or 4% compared to 0.1%, but the thing about cold emailing is it's like, okay, well, I pull a list and I spam the list and I get a couple meetings. Whereas with cold calling, it takes a lot of human effort to do that. And it also takes, in my opinion, I think it takes a much higher, like,
Yeah, skill level. Like, there's definitely a higher skill cap to cold calling because you can't really fake your way through a cold call.
yeah, well, I think it's a different skill set than cold emailing. The one thing that one of my buddies said about cold email versus cold calling, which I thought was very interesting. I'd never thought about this. He said that like when you're cold calling, if you're likable and have a good energy, you can book a meeting, even if the product isn't a good fit for your prospect. And the difference when you're cold emailing, it's a 100% emotions are removed from the situation. You have to have a laser targeted offer. a laser targeted list of only best fit accounts, and you have to break through all of the like emotional barriers to booking a meeting, and have a strong call to action. And like, but if you cold call somebody, like they know you want to book a meeting, they know you're trying to sell something. It's not that they, and it's not that they aren't dicks about it, but it's just a different skill set. And the other thing too is cold email is more viable for like cheaper products. So for instance, Sift is a perfect example of this. It's a $99 a month per user product. So even if there's 5 people in the office, it's only like $6,000 a year. It's a very small ticket size. And when I was working at my previous company, Lightyear, the ticket size, like, well, I shouldn't say, but we had a client that was giving us 7 figures. I'll just put it like that. Now, if I make a cold call and we get a 7-figure client, then it was worth the last 6 months, year of cold calling, the thousands of calls I had to make. It would have been worth it. And there was a couple of people who like I booked meetings with that were definitely 7-figure potential clients. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm not going to name names, but like I booked meetings with some of the largest companies on the planet when I was working at Lightyear, and in America too. But so it's just there's a different strategy. There's a different set of requirements for each to be effective.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely a use case for cold calling, a use case for cold emailing. And I think what you just discussed with how targeted the emailing has to be, because like you said, there's no more emotions, there's no more just you're a cool person, let me take a meeting with you just because I like you. And I think, like you said, you have to be a lot more targeted in your approach with the cold emailing, whereas the cold calling, you can just kind of like vibe your way through things sometimes. And
Yeah.
you can just kind of be a cool person and get some results out of it.
Yeah.
But so I guess you've done both. You just said that you do both, right?
Yeah, I'm calling at Sift right now. I just started, but I think if you're a new sales rep, you should immediately start picking up the phone and dialing customers. So I did that on like day one, and I didn't make that many calls to this week, but I'm gonna get back to it tomorrow.
Okay, I mean, let's go through briefly, if you're cool, if you want to talk about it, just a few general tips for cold calling and a few general tips for cold emailing, and then we'll move on from that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say like my main tip for cold calling, okay, and this might be totally nonsensical, or like this might be totally obvious to some people and totally not obvious to others. Use a script. Like, just use a script, man. People are like, oh, I don't want it to sound scripted. I'm like, okay, when you watch a movie and Joaquin Phoenix and the Joker, not the new Joker because I haven't seen it, I heard it was bad, but like in the original one, like great performance. Like he's reading a script, he's not making this up. Like he doesn't sound scripted, right?
Yeah, that's probably one of the most fire takes I've ever heard in my entire life in sales. Like hearing, like, because yeah, everybody's always like crapping on the idea of scripted calls, but you're right. Like, that's actually smart. I'm gonna start using that. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, and plus, like my script, I don't have like a flow chart or whatever for responses. But what's funny is, I actually, I forget about this stuff sometimes. When I was like 18 to 20, I did some telemarketing. So I should probably said I always forget about this, right? Like I did sales back then too. I don't know why I forget about it because it's been like 10 years, but one of the places I worked at had a literal flow chart that they would give you, and they laminated it. And I'm thinking back on it. I'm like, these people had a more sophisticated operation than 99% of SaaS companies, and they're selling fucking magazines, subscriptions. So how are
Yeah,
you
but
telling?
somebody sat down and thought about it really well, man. Like somebody was like, I'm gonna have the absolute most fire cold outreach program for my magazine.
And it worked because there was like an office of like 200 of us. So somebody was making money there, not me, but
Somebody was
somebody.
making some money for sure, man.
Yeah. So use a script. And the last thing I'll say about that is the script that I use, it's kind of unconventional. It's based on a Townsend Wardlaw script, which you can look that up on YouTube. Townsend Wardlaw. I'll actually put it in the chat. 1 second. Townsend
Yeah, it'll be
Wardlaw.
good.
What's
When
that?
I go back to edit it, I'll be able to like see it and remember it.
Yeah, so I put it in the LinkedIn chat. Townsend Wardlaw, real person, great guy. I met up with him once. He actually like totally red pilled me about some things in the SaaS industry that I didn't know about. That he just really smart guy. Anyway, use a script that makes them ask you questions. I really can't even get into the whole script. Go look up Townsend Wardlaw's script. It's too much to get into now.
One more time, Townsend Wardlaw script for cold calling gonna change your life.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so cold emailing. You have the Townsend Wardlaw of cold emailing, or you just have your own tips there?
I'll tell you, I don't think I'm as confident in my cold email skills as I am in my ability to co-opt the Townsend Wardlaw script. But what I will say is there's a couple things that anybody who's sending cold emails should look up. And I could do a whole 10-hour course on this stuff, and they exist too. So look those up. But multi-domain setup, and that just means that you're not sending cold emails off of your primary domain. So that means like if your domain is lotlizard.com, you want to buy another domain that's like,
Yo, did you Google like trucking terminology before you came on here? Or
no,
was that just one you just knew about?
yeah, no, I know about that one. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know the general public just knew that term, lot lizards, man.
Well, the finance manager that I had at the motorcycle dealership used to be in logistics, so he would tell me about stuff like that. He would tell me
Okay, so
about
you have an advantage to hear that term.
yeah, yeah. Well, I just know some people who are very into lot lizards too, so they would tell me that too. Which I'm not one of them, but just
I know some people.
yeah. I mean, hey,
Hey,
respect.
to each their own, man. What do you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, no judgment from me, man. Love is love, right? Am I right?
Yeah, every pod has a lid, man.
Yeah, exactly. So if that's your URL, you want to go find like you want to go buy some more URLs like trylotlizard.com, and you want to get like 10 variations of those. Maybe not 10, but if you wanted to scale your email outreach up to a lot, 10 would be good. Send emails off of those domains. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go look up multi-domain cold email. Just Google that and like you'll find something. And I'll actually put that in the chat too.
I think somebody was trying to explain this to me fairly recently, where they were saying that you need to kind of do this approach, so then you get like some kind of a score, so you don't end up in spam when you actually start blasting the emails correctly. Someone was trying to like briefly explain this to me quite recently.
Yeah. So what happens is when you send cold emails, people are reported as spam because you probably are bad at sending cold emails. You're probably bad at copywriting. When you send emails that are concise, relevant, and provocative, and like elicit a response, your score with the email service providers like goes up. And all of this is in like a black box. They don't tell you what your score is. You have to test this stuff out. There's certain services that will tell you what kind of spam rates you're getting with your emails. But the main thing is you want to get responses. Even if they're bad responses, like fuck off, that's actually that's actually a good response because somebody responded to your email. Now, what you don't want them to do is report you as spam, but the way to do that is to send targeted relevant emails, right?
Okay, so what you're saying is that when I get emails from people that are very clearly like bots, that reporting them as spam is actually like a solid strategy instead of just forgetting about them.
Yeah, I report stuff as spam, but I don't. But here's the thing: I don't report everything as spam that I get. I only report stuff as spam if like clearly this person did no research. I'm the not even in the right industry or whatever. If they're like, hey, notice
You're like malicious about it. You're like, oh, this guy didn't do a good job reporting this spam.
so selling to salespeople is good for some in some ways, but it's bad in other ways because they'll be like, oh, this email doesn't know my middle name or doesn't know what high school I went to or whatever. So boo on you. I'm gonna report you as spam.
Yeah, it's like insider. Like it's actually a funny story. So I'm currently living in Serbia, and I got a call from a random phone number today. And normally I just don't answer, but I had some time, so I answered it. And they like speak Serbian, obviously, and so I can't understand the guy because I don't really speak much. And I told him like, hey, like, I don't really speak. Can you speak English? You know? And this kid, I could tell it was a kid. He was like pretty young, and he starts trying to like explain this to me in English. So like I appreciated his effort. I was like hearing him out, man. And long story short, I found out very quickly he was just cold calling me for like to sell me like a air purifier, dude. And I told him, yeah, like just to put in your room, you plug it in, and it like takes up the cigarette smoke or something like that.
Dude.
And I knew he was cold calling me, and I asked him like, "Are you cold calling me?" He's like, "Yeah." Bro. And I'm like, "Okay, like I understand what you're doing. I understand it's gonna help you if I like give you a meeting." And so like, I made a deal with him to call me back tomorrow, just so because now I understand the industry. I understand how hard cold calling is. I understand the impact of just giving someone a meeting. I mean, I'm probably not gonna buy whatever he's selling me, but I hope it like helps him out somewhere. It's some metrics.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool when you understand the process of that people are going through. And he put in like a genuine effort. Like he started speaking English. He was trying his best. I was, you know, like he was like being like genuine about it. So.
Yeah, that's all. That's all you can ask, and that's all that I think. That's all that anybody wants, because to me, it's like a sign of respect. Like, we're not always going to hit it out of the park as salespeople doing cold calls or whatever, but like as long as I try to just make sure that I'm only reaching out to people that I really put time into this list. I use like AI and other tools to filter through my list to make sure I'm only emailing the right people. And to me, it's like obviously like a professional.
A genuine effort was put into that outreach. It wasn't just a spray and pray method.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, yeah, I'm not always going to get it right, but like I know at the end of the day that I tried, so I don't feel bad if somebody's like, "Oh, fuck off, I'm not the right guy." Like, okay, fine, I tried. Whatever.
Yeah, I got you. So I mean, just putting in a genuine effort is always going to be like some good advice, especially like you just said, if you target your stuff, it'll just show a genuine effort. It'll definitely help your response rates.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the good responses is like, "Hey, I am the right person, but we're not looking for something like this right now, or whatever." And then if you're getting responses like that, you know that you're like hitting your mark. But yeah, those are
Yeah,
my big tip. Yep.
that's your cold calling, cold emailing tips. I want to go through your hobbies with you and some other like personal questions quickly. We got
Sure.
2 recurring questions and we are out of here.
Okay.
So regarding hobbies, man, I mean, I can see a keyboard in your background. I'm assuming music's gonna be on that list. So when you're not cold calling people, what do you like to do?
Dude, so me and my wife moved to North Carolina recently. So hiking is a big hobby of mine, riding a motorcycle. Um, I wouldn't say traveling, because that's kind of like not a hobby. I don't know. If anybody tells you that traveling is their hobby, it means they have a trust fund, which I do not. So I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, traveling is your hobby. You're either a YouTuber or like just got lucky and you're like rich somehow.
Yeah,
Like
trust fund.
traveling is not a hobby, man. That's like a once or twice a year type of thing for most of the population.
Yeah, OnlyFans, trust fund, YouTuber. So
This guy said OnlyFans.
uh, anyway, uh, yeah, motorcycling, hiking, video games. Like I have a pretty nice like gaming setup here. Content creation. I post a lot on LinkedIn, which is how I know Matthew, who obviously recommended me. Um, right now, all of my hobbies are basically working because I just started here and I'm
Yep.
trying to get stuff up and running. But yeah, generally speaking,
Hey man, I'm also big into video games. I would say that's my number one hobby outside of content creation and editing, which I mean that is a hobby, but it's also still kind of work.
yeah.
But for the past 4 days, I've had to leave my nice gaming computer behind and not play games. So, what games are you into? What are you playing?
Gosh, right now, I play on Steam, and so right now I'm playing a game called Cosmoteer, which is like a top-down space video game where you like build a little ship and you go like mine asteroids and like blow up pirates and stuff like that, and you like get a bigger ship and things like that. So that's what I'm doing right now. Um, Let me just like pull up my Steam like super fast. Oh, Risk of Rain 2. Very much into Risk of Rain and Cities Skylines. So like I don't know, kind of games like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I heard City Skylines. I think that's the newer one where it was so unoptimized, even like a 4090 or something
Yeah,
like
so I'm playing the original City Skylines 1
there
still
we go. There you
because
go. Nice.
that game actually works. I do have City Skylines 2, and it is as bad as they said.
Yeah, I heard it was just like an absolute mess on launch.
Yeah, it was. It still is.
All right, cool. So hobbies, motorcycles, hiking, and video games. When it comes to sports, man, you into any sports?
No, dude, I don't know anything about sports. Like I do know stuff about like football and things like that. But no sports.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fair, man. Skipping the sports, music. What kind of music are you into? What kind of music do you make? Do you make music still?
Yeah, I do a little bit. Like it's definitely more of just a hobby now, just for myself. Like I just mess around, but I would say like sort of experimental like hip hop trap type stuff with real instruments, guitars and basses and things like that. I'm very much into like gosh, I don't know. There's a group called Salem that I was listening to today. If anybody knows what Salem is, um, ambient stuff. Like I definitely really like jazz, metal. Like I don't know, man. I'm into all kinds of stuff.
We got Ryan with some, like super insightful sales information. Thank you, but he just cracked. I didn't even look at the comments. He cracked me up with this. He picked a good city if you don't like sports.
So okay, so let me real quick. So one of the reasons that we moved out of St. Petersburg, Florida, is that like our house was right by the stadium, and every day, like not every day, because there's like, but 90 games, 90 days out of the year, there's like a fucking baseball game 20 blocks from my house. Dude, the traffic was so annoying. We live in the
This
suburbs.
guy moved out of a city because he hates baseball, bro.
Dude, it was because I don't follow baseball, and so like I never knew when the game was, so I would never know when to take an alternate route, and I'd always get stuck in traffic, which is my fault. So I'm not like complaining. I mean, I am, but we live in the suburbs in Charlotte, so I know it's got like 5 sports teams, but we don't have to deal with any of that stuff over here.
Yeah, you're just so far removed from it. But hey, you gotta hit me up if you're into like that hip hop trap stuff because I mean you heard my intro, that's kind of trap, and it's really hard to find non-copyright stuff. So if you're like making any cool beats, man, maybe you're gonna be the next intro song.
Okay, I will do. I'll keep that in mind.
All right, we'll circle back to the trap stuff and we'll circle back to your company in like 3 months down the
Yeah,
road. All right, man. We got 2 recurring questions. I'm gonna hit you with them, and we call it a day. So I'm gonna ask you a logistics question.
okay,
You got to bear with me on this one. I
okay.
think you'll get it though. It's not that hard. Regarding train and rail transportation, how many chuggas come before choo choo?
Dude, I'm gonna say like 10.
Yeah, it's like I mean it's a division of two, so it's kind of the right answer, but 10 is insane, dude. Like I mean the train's already left by the time you got the 10. So.
No, dude, we're ramping up those chuggas. We're chugging out there.
Yeah, you're chugga. This guy's like rapid firing them out of there. But okay, 10 is fair. I mean, it's still a division of two, and I think the right answer, I honestly forgot. I think it's 8 or 6, so it's pretty close. Now we got the most famous recurring question of the show, and I'm not really sure how I fell into this one, but chicken wing choices.
Mm-hmm.
So when you eat chicken wings, are you a drums or a flat kind of guy?
I would say neither or both. Like, cause flats I think have better meat on them, but drums are obviously easier to eat.
Okay, I agree with you on the drums being easier to eat, and I mean it's a logical answer. Yeah, it is what it is. If you had to pick one, if you could only pick one, what would it be?
Dude, fuck, man. I'd probably pick flats because my wife always tries to eat all the drums.
All right, fair. Sometimes
Yeah.
you just can't eat the chicken wings anymore. You get more for you. I respect
Yeah.
that. I respect
I'm
that.
done fighting that battle.
When it comes to dipping sauce, ranch or blue cheese?
Ooh, well, ranch because and no, don't judge me for this, but ranch and pizza is really good. So like
No,
wings.
ranch and pizza
Great.
is fire, man. I
Yeah.
actually used to do that too.
Some people will be like, "Oh, that's gross." I'm like, "Okay, we'll try it."
No, yeah, try it, try it. Ranch and pizza is like that's a very good one. I used to get like a pizza and then like a bottle of ranch, like from the grocery store, and then
Mhm.
just like dump it on my pizza.
Oh, yes, bro.
So
Yeah,
I'm not paying $3.99 per little dipping sauce, and I get out of here. I got a bottle of ranch in the fridge. We're
dude,
chilling.
those $3.99 dipping sauces are pretty sure we're holding up our entire economy.
Yeah, that's like the last thing propping it up. Man.
Yeah.
Breaded or non-breaded on the chicken wings?
I mean, non-breaded, because then you get the nice buffalo barbecue wings or whatever. Like, I don't mind breaded, like, but I'm gonna go with non-breaded.
All right. I mean, you went 0 for 3, but you had a lot of good reasons as to why, and you didn't vehemently hate the other options. So I'll give you a pass on the 0
Yeah,
for 3 there.
I'm not picky when it comes to ranch or blue cheese or pizza or wings, like, dude, okay, whatever, pizza and wings, that's cool.
All right, man. I really appreciate you coming by. It's really nice to meet you, actually, because, like I said, Sean made the introductions, and I go really far as to avoid my guests. And now we've started booking so far in advance that I really try to avoid guests that are coming on the show because I like it to be authentic. I like to meet the people at the same time as the audience. So now that we've broken this wall down, I can actually talk to you.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming by, man. Thanks for the sales tips, and definitely keep in touch. We're definitely going to keep in touch about a lot of things.
Yeah, man, Aleks, I really appreciate you coming on. If anybody watching this has like questions, they can DM me on LinkedIn. Like, always try to respond to any DMs where people need like sales help or whatever.
Yep, and I think you did a solid job offering, some sales insights and things like that. And, explaining it in a simple way. So I'll be dropping the clips of, we like sales over here. Like you said, it doesn't really matter what you're selling. Most of the things apply anyways. Well, take it easy, man, and try to avoid your sports for the rest of your life.
I will. I'm going to do that the best of my ability.
Have a good rest of your day, bro.
I mean, you too.
That wraps up podcast episode 48 with Benjamin, the lead gen master. And again, I'm calling him that. He doesn't call himself that. If you need any help with sales or you need any help with your PSAs, hit up Benjamin. And that's it for